Back in the days, when kitchens were filled with the warmth of resourceful cooking and families gathered around tables to share what little they had, old cookbooks were filled with recipes that turned simple ingredients into unforgettable meals. Today, we're stepping back in time to rediscover 25 forgotten recipes that once graced dinner tables, each one a testament to the creativity and love that turned everyday food into something special. Chicken a la king evokes mid-century elegance. Think dinner parties, soft jazz, and an air of sophistication. This dish, enveloped in a creamy sauce, has a history as rich as its flavor. Its exact origins are debated, with some claiming it was created at the Waldorf Astoria in New York in the late 19th century, while others suggest it came from the Bellevue Stratford Hotel in Philadelphia. Regardless of its birthplace, chicken a la king became a staple at upscale hotels and in home kitchens. In its heyday, chicken a la king was the star of dinner parties. Imagine the aroma of sautéed mushrooms and chicken, a creamy sauce simmering gently, rich, luxurious, and perfect for impressing guests. The dish features tender chicken smothered in a velvety sauce made from cream, butter, and a splash of sherry for depth of flavor. Despite its fancy origins, the dish is versatile. It can be served on puff pastry shells, rice, or even as a hearty topping for buttered toast. Mushrooms, peas, and pimientos add flavor and texture, creating the perfect balance with the creamy sauce. In the 1960s and 1970s, chicken a la king became a household favorite, often featured in women's magazines and cookbooks. It symbolized comfort, affluence, and culinary sophistication, a dish for special occasions that was also simple enough for a family dinner. Though it's less popular today, it remains a nostalgic reminder of an era when dinner was as much about the experience as the food. To prepare chicken a la king, gather cooked chicken, preferably white meat, butter, flour, cream, chicken broth, mushrooms, and pimientos. A splash of sherry, salt, and pepper complete the flavor profile. Begin by melting butter in a pan and sautéing mushrooms and onions until softened. Stir in flour to create a roux, then gradually whisk in chicken broth and cream, allowing it to thicken. Add the chicken and seasonings, then stir in pimientos and a splash of sherry for richness. Spoon the mixture over biscuits, toast, or rice. Chicken a la king is fit for royalty, or at least a Sunday supper that makes you feel like royalty. It's a creamy, comforting dish that offers both nostalgia and a touch of elegance. Jellied chicken salad, though often seen as a relic of 1950s dinner parties, carries a certain nostalgic charm. Once a star at potlucks, festive gatherings, and family dinners, this quirky dish, made from chicken, vegetables, and gelatin, was molded into a firm, jiggly shape that left a lasting impression. While it may seem odd today, it was a symbol of creativity and resourcefulness in the mid-20th century, embodying culinary daring and a bit of fun. In the 1940s and 1950s, gelatin-based dishes, particularly Jell-O salads, were all the rage. Molded into playful shapes, they were seen as fun and impressive ways to serve meals at fancy events. Adding chicken and vegetables transformed a simple gelatin dish into something more substantial, turning it into a full meal. Whether served at a Sunday gathering or a bridal shower, jellied chicken salad was a conversation starter. People either loved it or couldn't understand its appeal. Its shimmering gelatin and the thought of chicken suspended in its wobbly embrace could make someone pause, but the flavor was undeniably satisfying. The charm of jellied chicken salad lies in the balance of flavors. The richness of the chicken and vegetables complements the lightness of the gelatin, creating a savory, satisfying contrast. The key is seasoning the gelatin just enough to support the chicken without overwhelming it. A bit of salt, pepper, and vinegar or lemon juice turns the gelatin into a tangy base that holds everything together without dominating the dish. To make jellied chicken salad, start with cooked diced chicken and toss it with finely chopped celery, bell pepper, and onion. Prepare the gelatin by dissolving it in warm chicken broth to add depth. Pour the gelatin mixture over the chicken and vegetables, stirring gently to coat. Chill it in a mold, and in a few hours, you'll have a wobbly masterpiece. Serve with a dollop of mayonnaise or tangy dressing to enhance the flavors. Though no longer common in modern kitchens, jellied chicken salad tells the story of a time when meals were inventive and whimsical. It's a reminder that food isn't just about taste, it's about the experience, creativity, and memories it creates. Spam, that often maligned canned meat, was a kitchen staple during the mid-20th century, particularly in the years following World War II. Affordable, reliable, and versatile, Spam was a product that helped stretch family food budgets while providing a hearty meal. One classic dish that emerged during this time was Spam casserole, a simple yet beloved comfort food that fed many families with its quick, easy-to-make ingredients. Spam casserole embodies the resourcefulness that defined post-war cooking. It allowed families to make the most of inexpensive ingredients, combining Spam with creamy soups, pasta, and cheese to create a satisfying one-dish meal. While it wasn't fancy, it was filling, exactly what was needed after a long day of work or school. Plus, its simplicity made it an ideal choice for busy households. The dish's beauty lies in its versatility. With a few pantry staples like canned peas, pasta, and leftover vegetables, you could transform Spam into a hearty meal. Combining these with a can of cream of mushroom soup and a generous helping of cheese, the result was a bubbly, golden casserole that smelled like home and tasted like comfort. It was a warm reminder of an era when meals were about making the most of what you had without sacrificing flavor. To make Spam casserole, start by cooking some elbow macaroni, then cube the Spam. In a large casserole dish, mix the cooked macaroni, Spam, a can of cream of mushroom soup, and a bit of milk in to bring the sauce together. Stir in shredded cheddar cheese and top with breadcrumbs for a crunchy finish. Bake until the casserole is bubbling and golden brown, with the cheese melted perfectly and the flavors melded together. Though Spam casserole may have fallen out of favor in modern kitchens, it remains a nostalgic dish for those who grew up with it. It's a reminder of the resourceful spirit of the 1950s and 1960s, showing how a few simple ingredients can be transformed into something special. Not the most glamorous dish, Spam casserole evokes memories of family dinners and the creativity that makes comfort food so meaningful. Tamale pie is a hearty, creative dish that blends Mexican and American flavors into a satisfying one-dish meal. Though it's not quite like traditional tamales, this casserole-style dish became popular in the 50s and 1960s when home cooks sought easy, casual meals. It offered the savory flavors of tamales, cornmeal, meat, and beans, without the labor-intensive process of wrapping individual tamales in corn husks. What made tamale pie a favorite was its practicality. Quick to prepare, hearty, and made with simple ingredients, it was perfect for families looking for cost-effective meals. During times when budgets were tight, this dish fit the bill, becoming a beloved comfort food that filled bellies and warmed homes. Tamale pie starts with a seasoned ground beef filling combined with beans and a flavorful tomato sauce, creating a rich, savory base. The filling is topped with a cornbread batter that bakes up golden and tender, forming the tamale topping. The contrast of the spicy, savory filling with the light, slightly sweet cornbread creates a perfect balance of textures and flavors, rich and hearty on the bottom, fluffy on top. To make tamale pie, begin by browning ground beef and seasoning it with chili powder, cumin, and garlic. Stir in beans, such as kidney or black beans, a bit of tomato sauce, and corn to bring it all together. Spread the mixture into a casserole dish, then pour the cornbread batter over the top. As it bakes, the batter rises, forming a golden crust that holds the savory filling inside. After baking, you'll have a bubbling, satisfying pie, a warm, comforting meal. Tamale pie is ideal for weeknight dinners, family gatherings, or potlucks, and it often receives rave reviews. It's a reminder of a time when cooking was about being resourceful and inventive, transforming simple ingredients into something delicious. While not as glamorous as other classic dishes, it has its own charm, a warm, welcoming meal that brings nostalgic comfort to the table. Fricassee of rabbit, though now a rare dish, carries with it the charm and history of a bygone era. Popular during the Great Depression, this French classic offered a way to stretch a food budget by transforming rabbit, an affordable and accessible protein, into a rich, comforting meal. While rabbit may seem unusual today, it was once a staple in many households, particularly in the 1940s and 1950s, when hunting and small game meat were more common. The fricassee method, essentially a stew where meat is braised in a flavorful broth, was the perfect way to tenderize rabbit and infuse it with deep, savory flavors. The dish is a balance of simplicity and elegance, making the most of humble ingredients. Rabbit pieces are browned in butter, then simmered with vegetables like onions, carrots, and mushrooms. A splash of white wine and chicken broth creates a rich sauce, and a final touch of cream adds a luscious texture, turning the dish into something luxurious despite its modest roots. To make fricassee of rabbit, start by browning rabbit pieces in butter until golden. Remove the meat and in the same pan, sauté onions, garlic, and carrots until softened. Stir in mushrooms, then pour in the white wine and chicken broth, allowing the liquid to reduce. Add the rabbit back into the pan and simmer gently until the meat is tender and the sauce has thickened. Finish with a splash of cream to round out the flavors. Serve the fricassee over rice or mashed potatoes to soak up the creamy sauce. Though rabbit might seem like an adventurous choice today, this dish is a reminder of a time when resourcefulness was key and meals were crafted to make the most of modest ingredients. Fricassee of rabbit is a nostalgic taste of the past, rich, comforting, and full of resilience, embodying the spirit of old-fashioned, creative cooking. Choufle pie is a beloved dessert from Pennsylvania Dutch cuisine, steeped in history and tradition. This molasses-based pie, adored by Amish and Mennonite communities for generations, combines a sweet, rich filling with a crumbly, buttery topping. Its name adds to its charm. Legend has it that the pie was so irresistible that you had to shoo away the flies as it cooled on the windowsill. Popular in the early 1900s, especially in rural Pennsylvania, choufle pie was made using basic pantry staples like molasses, flour, and butter. The molasses filling provides a deep sweetness, balanced by a streusel-like crumb topping made of brown sugar, flour, and butter. This combination creates a comforting, indulgent dessert that fills the kitchen with a scent of baked goodness. The appeal of choufle pie lies in its simplicity. The tangy sweetness of the molasses is softened by the crunchy, caramelized crumb topping, creating a perfect harmony of flavors and textures. The richness of the molasses, the light crunch of the crumbs, and the flakiness of a pie crust make this dessert memorable. Choufle pie was a favorite at community gatherings, holidays, and special occasions, its humble ingredients belying its comforting, indulgent nature. To make choufle pie, start by mixing molasses with water, baking soda, and spices to create a smooth filling. For the crumb topping, combine brown sugar, flour, butter, and a pinch of salt, rubbing them together until crumbly. Pour the molasses filling into a prepared pie crust, topping it generously with the crumble mixture. Bake until the filling is set and the top is golden and slightly crunchy. The result is a sweet, rich dessert that's full of nostalgic flavor. Though less common today, choufle pie evokes warmth and tradition when made. It's a dessert that brings families together, whether around a farmhouse table or a modern kitchen. A slice of choufle pie is more than just a treat. It's a taste of history, a reminder of resourceful, hearty cooking that defined generations of home cooks. Beef Wellington is the epitome of a special occasion dish, with its layers of golden puff pastry, savory mushroom duxelles, and perfectly seared beef tenderloin at its heart. Often associated with British aristocracy and named after the Duke of Wellington, this dish is a showstopper at festive meals and celebratory gatherings. Despite its luxurious reputation, Beef Wellington is about technique, precision, and a touch of culinary flair. The origins of Beef Wellington are debated, but it is widely believed to be inspired by French cuisine, particularly the concept of wrapping meat in pastry. The modern version likely took shape in the 19th century, around the time of the Duke of Wellington. It soon became a symbol of fine dining and eventually made its way into home kitchens, where cooks sought to add elegance to holiday meals and dinner parties. What makes Beef Wellington so special is its combination of textures and flavors. The tender beef, usually a prized cut of tenderloin, is seared to perfection and coated with mushroom duxelle, finely chopped mushrooms sautéed with shallots, garlic, and herbs. This earthy filling contrasts beautifully with the buttery, flaky pastry. Prosciutto or pâté can be added for extra richness, and the entire creation is wrapped in puff pastry, which crisps up during baking into a golden, satisfying crust. To prepare Beef Wellington, start by searing the beef tenderloin in a hot pan to develop a crust, then let it cool. Prepare the duxelle by sautéing mushrooms, shallots, garlic, and thyme. Then spread the mixture over the beef. If desired, layer prosciutto or pâté on top. Next, wrap the beef in the mushroom mixture, encase it in puff pastry, and brush with egg wash. Bake until the pastry is golden and the beef reaches your desired doneness. While Beef Wellington may seem intimidating, it is ultimately a celebration of patience and technique. Each layer, beef, mushrooms, pastry, creates a dish that's as visually impressive as it is delicious. Though less common today, Beef Wellington remains a symbol of culinary ambition and the timeless art of transforming simple ingredients into something extraordinary. Chicken fried steak is the epitome of Southern comfort food. Crispy, golden, and irresistibly delicious. This iconic dish combines a tender, seasoned steak with a crispy coating, similar to fried chicken. Often served at hearty family meals or Sunday suppers, chicken fried steak is a labor of love meant to be shared around the table, accompanied by laughter and good conversation. The origins of chicken fried steak are debated, but most culinary experts trace it back to European schnitzels, particularly from Germany and Austria, where meat is breaded and fried. In America, especially in the South and Southwest, the dish evolved to use tenderized beef, such as round steak or cube steak. While the name suggests it's related to fried chicken, the dish actually uses beef and gets its name from the method of preparation, breaded and deep fried to crispy perfection. What makes chicken fried steak so beloved is the contrast of textures, a crunchy exterior with tender, juicy meat inside. The real magic happens when it's topped with rich, creamy country gravy, made from the drippings left in the pan after frying the steak. The gravy, often with bits of crispy steak mixed in, perfectly complements the savory, crispy crust, making the dish both filling and indulgent. To make chicken fried steak, tenderize the beef. Round or cube steak works best. Then coat it in seasoned flour, dip it in egg wash, and cover it in seasoned breadcrumbs or cornmeal. Fry the steaks in hot oil until golden brown and crispy. For the gravy, use the leftover pan drippings, adding flour to make a roux, then gradually stir in milk to create a creamy sauce. Once the steak is fried to perfection, serve it hot, smothered in that velvety gravy. Chicken fried steak doesn't need to be complicated to be delicious. Its simplicity is part of its charm. Though it may not appear on every menu today, it remains a symbol of Southern hospitality and tradition. Whether paired with the mashed potatoes, biscuits, or collard greens, chicken fried steak brings people together, creating lasting memories with every crispy, tender bite. Stuffed cabbage rolls are a hearty, comforting dish with deep roots in Eastern European and Jewish culinary traditions. Known as cholubki in Poland, sarma in the Balkans, and dolma in the Middle East, these rolls have been cherished for generations, especially during holidays and special occasions. Despite their humble ingredients, they symbolize home-cooked warmth and love, turning simple ingredients into something nourishing and delicious. The beauty of stuffed cabbage rolls lies in their versatility. The dish consists of cabbage leaves wrapped around a filling of ground meat, rice, and spices. The cabbage holds the flavorful filling like a delicate parcel, softening as it cooks and absorbing the savory flavors of the filling and tomato-based sauce. Traditionally slow-cooked, the flavors meld together in a comforting stew, making it the perfect dish for cold evenings when you need something hearty. Stuffed cabbage rolls gained popularity in the United States in the early to mid-20th century, especially among immigrant families who wanted to preserve their cultural dishes. It became a common comfort food across the country, filling homes with its mouth-watering aroma during the colder months. It's a perfect example of how immigrant families adapted their traditions to available ingredients in their new homes. To make stuffed cabbage rolls, begin by blanching large cabbage leaves until soft and pliable. Then, prepare the filling by combining ground beef or pork with cooked rice, onions, garlic, and herbs like thyme and paprika. Place a generous scoop of filling in the center of each cabbage leaf, rolling it tightly to secure the filling inside. The rolls are then simmered in a rich tomato sauce, seasoned with bay leaves, vinegar, and sugar to balance the flavors. Best enjoyed after a long simmer, stuffed cabbage rolls become a savory, satisfying meal, with flavors melded together. Serve them hot with a dollop of sour cream or crusty bread for a nostalgic, timeless dish. Stuffed cabbage rolls remind us that even simple ingredients, with care and patience, can create something extraordinary, nourishing both the body and the soul. Tuna noodle casserole is the quintessential mid-century American comfort food, simple, satisfying, and made with pantry staples. Popularized in the 1950s and 1960s, it became a go-to dish at family dinners, church potlucks, and school lunch programs. Its ease of preparation and ability to transform a few basic ingredients, canned tuna, noodles, and a creamy sauce, into a hearty meal made it a household favorite during a time when convenience was key. What makes tuna noodle casserole so beloved is its simplicity and versatility. The base consists of cooked egg noodles mixed with canned tuna, peas, and a creamy sauce, often made from cream of mushroom soup or a homemade bechamel. It's topped with crispy breadcrumbs or crushed potato chips, providing a delightful contrast of textures, soft and creamy underneath with a golden, crunchy topping. The mild tuna, rich sauce, and sweet peas come together to create a nostalgic and comforting dish. During times when stretching $1 was essential, tuna noodle casserole was a perfect, resourceful choice. The ingredients were inexpensive, shelf-stable, and could be stored for long periods, making it an affordable, hearty meal when needed. The dish embodies the resourcefulness of home cooking, turning canned tuna, noodles, and vegetables into a meal that fed families and brought them together. To make tuna noodle casserole, start by cooking egg noodles and draining them. Combine the noodles with drained canned tuna, frozen peas, and a creamy sauce made from cream of mushroom soup or a homemade white sauce. Transfer the mixture into a greased casserole dish and top with breadcrumbs or crushed potato chips. Bake until the casserole is hot and bubbly, with a golden, crispy top. Though not glamorous, tuna noodle casserole is undeniably comforting. It fills the home with the aroma of warmth and nostalgia, reminding us of simpler times when cooking was about care and love, not complexity. Whether served on a busy weeknight or as a potluck dish, tuna noodle casserole remains a classic that will always find its way back to the table. Salisbury steak is a classic dish that perfectly represents hearty, home-cooked meals of mid-century America. Simple yet satisfying, it combines a juicy beef patty with a rich, savory gravy, a perfect balance of flavors and textures that has remained popular over time. This dish, often found on school cafeteria trays and family dinner tables in the 1950s and 1960s, may seem straightforward, but its enduring appeal speaks to its comforting qualities. Named after Dr. James Salisbury, a 19th century American physician who believed ground beef was a healthy food option, Salisbury steak originally started as a health food, served with minimal seasoning. Over time, it evolved into a flavorful, comforting meal, becoming a staple in American kitchens. Today, it's made with ground beef, often mixed with breadcrumbs, egg, and seasonings, shaped into patties, browned, and simmered in a savory brown gravy, usually enhanced with onions. The beauty of Salisbury steak lies in its simplicity. The beef patties are tender and juicy, seasoned just right. The addition of a rich, onion-infused gravy transforms the dish into something much more than a basic meat patty. It's a comforting and satisfying meal that's perfect for busy weeknights, especially for families who needed a quick, filling dish that still felt special. To make Salisbury steak, mix ground beef with breadcrumbs, egg, and seasonings like salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Shape the mixture into oval patties and brown them in a skillet. Then sauté onions and add beef broth, flour, and seasoning to create a smooth, savory gravy. Simmer the patties in the gravy until cooked through and tender. Typically served with mashed potatoes, rice, or buttered noodles, Salisbury steak offers a meal that feels like a warm embrace thanks to its comforting flavors and satisfying texture. Though it may not be as trendy or complex as other dishes, Salisbury steak remains a beloved classic. It's an unfussy, hearty dish that speaks to the essence of home-cooked meals, offering a taste of nostalgia and comfort that's easy to appreciate. Whether for a retro dinner or a go-to weeknight favorite, Salisbury steak continues to bring warmth and satisfaction to the dinner table. Beef stroganoff is a classic dish that blends comfort and luxury, featuring tender beef in a rich, creamy sauce with a hint of tanginess from sour cream. Originating in 19th century Russia, it became a favorite in the United States during the 1950s and 1960s, symbolizing sophisticated home cooking. While it's often elevated in restaurants, its true charm lies in its simplicity and the depth of flavor achieved through humble ingredients. Named after the Stroganoff family, Russian aristocrats known for their lavish lifestyle, beef stroganoff originally consisted of sautéed beef, onions, mustard, and sour cream, creating a creamy, delicate sauce. As it spread across Europe and into the US, the dish evolved with additions like mushrooms, paprika, and beef broth, enriching its flavor. By the 1950s, it became a go-to dish for dinner parties and family meals, commonly served over egg noodles or rice. What makes beef stroganoff so beloved is its balance of flavors and textures. The beef, usually sirloin or tenderloin, is seared to perfection, remaining juicy and tender. The creamy sauce, made from sour cream and a splash of white wine or beef broth, coats the beef in a velvety layer, while mushrooms provide earthy depth. Paprika adds a subtle warmth, making each bite satisfying and complex. To prepare beef stroganoff, slice the beef thinly and sear it in a hot pan until golden. Set it aside. Then sauté onions and mushrooms in the same pan until tender. Add flour to create a roux, then gradually whisk in beef broth and a splash of white wine or brandy. Let the sauce simmer and thicken before stirring in sour cream for a creamy finish. Return the beef to the pan and cook for a few more minutes to meld the flavors. Traditionally served over egg noodles, beef stroganoff can also be paired with mashed potatoes or rice. Despite its indulgent feel, it's surprisingly easy to prepare, making it perfect for both weeknight dinners and celebratory meals. Rich, savory, and creamy, beef stroganoff remains a timeless classic because it hits all the right notes, offering comfort and sophistication in every bite. Whether served to guests or enjoyed with family, it continues to be a favorite for good reason. Meatloaf may be the ultimate comfort food, simple, hearty, and always satisfying. It's the kind of dish that has a permanent place on dinner tables across America, a staple in homes that have seen generations of cooks preparing it in different ways. From the classic version served with mashed potatoes and gravy to modern twists featuring exotic spices or vegetarian alternatives, meatloaf has withstood the test of time. Its origins, though somewhat debated, go back to the early 19th century, with the idea of finely chopped or ground meat being baked together. And it really hit its stride during the Great Depression and post-war years when affordable, filling meals were a necessity. In its traditional form, meatloaf is made from a mixture of ground beef or a combination of beef and pork, breadcrumbs, eggs, and seasonings, all molded into a loaf shape and baked. It's the kind of dish that's so versatile, you can add just about anything to suit your tastes: onions, garlic, herbs, and even shredded cheese. What makes meatloaf so special, though, is the way it melds together while cooking, creating a tender yet hearty meal that feels like a warm embrace on a chilly evening. During the 1950s and 1960s, meatloaf became an essential part of the American family meal. It was inexpensive, easy to prepare, and could be stretched to feed a crowd. It was also a dish that could be made ahead of time, allowing busy families to have a comforting, homemade meal even on hectic weeknights. A generous glaze of ketchup or sometimes brown sugar mixed with mustard or Worcestershire sauce was often brushed over the top of the loaf, adding a tangy sweet finish that became as much a part of the dish as the meat itself. To make a classic meatloaf, you start by combining ground beef, breadcrumbs, an egg, and your seasonings. Common seasonings include salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder, though you can add herbs like thyme or oregano for a bit of extra flavor. Once the mixture is thoroughly combined, you shape it into a loaf and place it in a baking dish. Before baking, spread a layer of ketchup or a homemade glaze on top to add flavor and moisture as it cooks. Bake until golden and cooked through, allowing the loaf to rest before slicing it into hearty portions. Meatloaf pairs wonderfully with mashed potatoes, roasted vegetables, or even macaroni and cheese, making it a comforting, all-in-one meal. It's also a dish that makes great leftovers, as the flavors often improve the next day, making meatloaf sandwiches a delightful bonus. Though it may not be fancy or extravagant, meatloaf continues to hold a special place in the hearts of many, offering a taste of nostalgia and reminding us of the joy that comes from a simple, home-cooked meal. It's a reminder that sometimes the best things in life are the most straightforward, just a few basic ingredients, a little love, and the promise of a warm meal shared with those you care about. Chicken and dumplings is the definition of comfort food. It's one of those dishes that wraps you in warmth, offering both nourishment and a sense of home. Steeped in Southern tradition and popular in households across the country, this dish combines tender chicken simmered in a rich, savory broth with pillowy dumplings that float delicately on top. It's a meal that evokes memories of cozy kitchen tables, bustling family dinners, and cold nights when all you needed was something hearty and soothing to fill your belly. The history of chicken and dumplings stretches back to the 19th century, with origins in various cultures across Europe. In the United States, it became a beloved comfort dish, particularly in the South, where it was a way to stretch a small amount of chicken into a hearty, filling meal. Dumplings, made from flour, fat, and liquid, were added to make the dish even more substantial. Over time, regional variations emerged, with some adding vegetables like carrots, celery, or peas, and others choosing to thicken the broth with a creamy base. What makes chicken and dumplings so comforting is its combination of flavors and textures. The chicken, slow cooked until tender and falling off the bone, infuses the broth with a deep, savory richness. The dumplings, soft and fluffy, soak up the broth as they cook, creating a contrast to the tender chicken. Together, they form a meal that's both light and filling, with just the right balance of flavors. To make chicken and dumplings, you start by cooking the chicken in a pot with water, onions, garlic, and a few herbs like thyme or bay leaves. Once the chicken is tender, remove it from the pot, shred it, and set it aside. In the same pot, you can add vegetables like carrots, celery, and peas, and then return the shredded chicken to the broth. To make the dumplings, combine flour, baking powder, salt, and butter, then add milk to form a soft dough. Drop spoonfuls of the dough into the simmering broth, allowing them to cook until they are puffed and cooked through. Chicken and dumplings is often served as a one-pot meal, making it perfect for busy weeknights or a relaxing Sunday dinner. The dish can be as simple or as complex as you like, with homemade or store-bought broth, and depending on your taste, you can add extra seasonings or vegetables. It's the kind of dish that brings comfort with every bite, reminding us of the power of home-cooked meals. Whether served with a crusty piece of bread to soak up the broth or enjoyed as is, chicken and dumplings is the kind of food that sticks with you, both filling and satisfying, a true culinary hug for the soul. Clam chowder is one of those timeless dishes that has come to represent coastal comfort, particularly in New England, where it has become a staple of regional cuisine. It's a rich, creamy soup brimming with tender clams, potatoes, and vegetables, often served with a sprinkling of fresh herbs and a side of warm, crusty bread. Clam chowder is more than just a soup. It's a culinary experience that conjures up images of misty shorelines, fishing boats, and cozy kitchens with a scent of simmering broth in the air. The origins of clam chowder are as varied as the people who make it. While the dish is most closely associated with New England, where it was first popularized, variations of clam-based chowder have existed in various forms throughout the Northeast, including Rhode Island, which features a clear broth, and Manhattan, which uses a tomato-based base. The classic New England clam chowder, however, is made with a rich, creamy base, often thickened with flour or potatoes, and infused with the briny, salty goodness of clams. It became a beloved dish in the 19th century, particularly in the fishing communities of New England, where fresh clams were abundant and inexpensive. The beauty of clam chowder lies in its comforting, velvety texture and the balance of flavors. The clams, delicate yet flavorful, provide a briny punch that's complemented by the creamy, smooth base. Potatoes give the soup substance, while onions, celery, and sometimes bacon add layers of savory depth. The end result is a soup that's hearty, satisfying, and rich, without being overwhelmingly heavy, a perfect dish for chilly evenings by the sea or during the winter months. To make clam chowder, you start by cooking onions, celery, and sometimes bacon in butter until they're softened and fragrant. Then you add diced potatoes and broth, letting the vegetables cook until tender. Once that's done, you add the clams and their juices along with cream and milk to form a rich base. Some recipes call for a roux, flour and butter cooked together, to thicken the soup, while others let the potatoes do the thickening naturally. Simmer everything gently until it's heated through, and finish with a sprinkle of fresh parsley or thyme for a touch of color and brightness. Clam chowder is often served with oyster crackers or a thick slice of sourdough bread to help soak up the rich broth. Whether enjoyed on a cold day or as a starter to a seafood feast, clam chowder remains a beloved dish that celebrates the flavors of the sea. It's one of those meals that instantly transports you to a coastal town where the waves crash against the shore, and every bowl feels like a comforting hug from the ocean itself. Cornbread is the kind of dish that's as quintessentially American as apple pie, yet its roots run deep in Southern and Native American cooking traditions. With its golden, crumbly texture and slightly sweet flavor, cornbread has graced dinner tables for generations, from simple family meals to festive holiday spreads. Whether served alongside a hearty bowl of chili as a base for a savory stuffing or enjoyed with a dollop of butter, cornbread is as versatile as it is comforting. The history of cornbread goes all the way back to indigenous peoples who ground corn into meal to make a variety of dishes. Corn was an essential crop in the Americas, and early Native American recipes for cornbread were made with simple ingredients: cornmeal, water, and sometimes beans. As European settlers adopted corn as a staple crop, the dish evolved with additions like eggs, milk, and sugar to create the sweet, rich flavor that's common in modern-day cornbread. By the time the dish reached the American South, it had become an integral part of Southern cuisine, with variations ranging from sweet to savory, and often served to accompany soul food dishes, meats, and vegetables. What makes cornbread such a beloved dish is its balance of flavors and textures. The cornmeal gives it a coarse, hearty texture, while the butter or oil makes it moist and rich. Depending on the recipe, it can be slightly sweet with a hint of sugar or honey, or more savory, often flavored with buttermilk or cheese. The crust is golden and crisp, providing a satisfying crunch that contrasts beautifully with the soft, moist interior. It's the perfect complement to a wide range of dishes, from stews and soups to barbecued meats and greens. To make cornbread, you start by mixing cornmeal, flour, sugar if desired, baking powder, and salt in one bowl, and whisking eggs, milk, and melted butter in another. Then you combine the wet and dry ingredients, stirring until just mixed. Some recipes call for the batter to be poured into a hot cast iron skillet, which creates a crisp, golden crust, while others use a baking dish or muffin tin. The cornbread bakes until golden brown, and a toothpick comes out clean. For extra flavor, many cooks like to add ingredients like jalapenos, cheese, or fresh herbs to the batter. Cornbread is best enjoyed fresh from the oven, slathered with butter, and perhaps a drizzle of honey for a touch of sweetness. It's a dish that can be easily made ahead of time and served alongside a variety of meals. Whether you like it sweet or savory, cornbread is one of those timeless dishes that connects us to the past, while continuing to be a staple of modern home-cooked meals. It's simple, humble, and delicious. Everything a classic comfort food should be. Chicken pot pie is the epitome of comforting, home-cooked goodness, a dish that warms the soul and fills the kitchen with the most inviting aromas. This classic comfort food has been a staple in American households for generations, particularly during the colder months when nothing feels quite as satisfying as a hearty, savory pie filled with tender chicken, vegetables, and a creamy sauce. Whether made from scratch or with the help of a store-bought crust, chicken pot pie has a timeless charm that never seems to fade. The origins of chicken pot pie are often debated, with some tracing it back to the British tradition of meat pies, which were filled with the leftover meats and vegetables and encased in a flaky crust. These savory pies made their way to America, where they became a beloved part of the culinary landscape, evolving into various regional versions. By the 20th century, chicken pot pie became a quintessential dish in American comfort food culture, perfect for Sunday family dinners, potlucks, and even holiday meals. The beauty of chicken pot pie lies in its balance of flavors and textures. The crust, whether made from scratch or pre-made, is golden and flaky, offering the perfect contrast to the creamy filling inside. The chicken, often poached or roasted, is tender and juicy, while the vegetables, usually carrots, peas, and onions, add freshness and sweetness to the rich, savory sauce. The creamy filling, made with chicken broth, milk or cream, and a touch of seasoning, is thick and comforting, enveloping every bite in warmth and satisfaction. To make chicken pot pie, you start by cooking chicken, often using boneless breasts or thighs, and then dicing it into bite-sized pieces. In a separate pan, you saute onions, carrots, and celery, adding garlic and herbs like thyme or rosemary to build flavor. Then, you add flour to make a roux and gradually whisk in chicken broth and cream to create the rich sauce. Once the sauce has thickened, you stir in the cooked chicken and peas. The filling is then poured into a prepared pie crust, topped with another layer of dough, and baked until golden and bubbly. Chicken pot pie is best served hot, fresh from the oven, with the flaky crust perfectly browned and the creamy filling steaming inside. It's the kind of dish that feels like a hug in food form, comforting, filling, and endlessly satisfying. Whether served as a main dish for dinner or as a centerpiece for a family gathering, chicken pot pie never fails to evoke a sense of nostalgia and warmth. It's one of those classic recipes that transcends time, reminding us that the best meals are often the simplest, made with love and served from the heart. Beef and barley soup is a hearty, wholesome dish that brings comfort and warmth to the dinner table, especially on a chilly day. With its tender chunks of beef, earthy barley, and a rich, flavorful broth, this soup has been a staple in many homes for generations. It's the kind of meal that feels like a big hug from the inside, full of depth and nourishment, and it's the perfect dish to feed a crowd or stretch a meal over several days. The origins of beef and barley soup are deeply rooted in European culinary traditions, with variations of the dish found throughout Eastern Europe, the British Isles, and beyond. Barley, a staple grain, was often used in ancient soups and stews, not only for its ability to bulk up a dish, but also because of its earthy flavor and health benefits. In the early 20th century, beef and barley soup became a popular comfort food in the United States, often made with the leftover beef from a roast or stew, making it both economical and filling. What makes beef and barley soup so beloved is the balance of flavors and textures. The beef, whether chuck, stew meat, or leftover roast, becomes incredibly tender as it simmers, infusing the broth with savory goodness. The barley adds a chewy, satisfying texture, absorbing the flavors of the broth and complementing the beef perfectly. Carrots, onions, and celery contribute freshness and sweetness, while herbs like thyme and bay leaves add aromatic depth. The result is a rich, full-bodied soup that's both filling and deeply satisfying. To make beef and barley soup, you start by browning the beef in a pot to develop flavor, then remove it and set it aside. In the same pot, sauté onions, carrots, and celery, allowing them to soften and release their sweetness. Then you add garlic and herbs to build the base of the soup before returning the beef to the pot. Next, you add beef broth or water along with the barley and let the soup simmer for about an hour or until the beef is tender and the barley has absorbed the flavors of the broth. Season with salt and pepper to taste and garnish with fresh parsley before serving. Beef and barley soup is the kind of dish that just gets better with time. It's perfect for making in advance, as the flavors continue to meld together the longer it sits. Serve it with a warm slice of crusty bread for dipping, and you've got yourself a meal that's both hearty and comforting. Whether you're enjoying it on a cold winter's night or serving it at a family gathering, beef and barley soup is the kind of dish that fills your home with the aromas of warmth and love, making it an enduring classic in many kitchens. Baked ziti is the kind of dish that brings people together around the table, effortlessly satisfying a crowd with its layers of pasta, savory marinara sauce, and melted cheese. This Italian-American classic has earned its place as a family favorite, especially in homes where a hearty, no-fuss meal is needed after a busy day. It's comforting, flavorful, and easy to make, yet it feels like a meal that has been made with care. Baked ziti is also the kind of dish that's just as good on day 2, making it a perfect choice for leftovers or a dish to bring to a potluck. While baked ziti has its roots in Italian cuisine, it's a dish that was perfected in America, particularly in the mid-20th century when Italian immigrants began adapting their traditional recipes to fit local tastes and ingredients. The dish itself is simple: ziti pasta, marinara sauce, and cheese. Yet the magic lies in how the flavors meld together after baking. The pasta absorbs the rich sauce, the cheese becomes golden and bubbly, and the result is a dish that's filling, satisfying, and downright comforting. The beauty of baked ziti lies in its versatility. It's the kind of dish that can be made to suit all tastes. Whether you prefer it with ground beef, sausage, or even a vegetarian version with sautéed vegetables. The marinara sauce is usually seasoned with garlic, onions, and herbs like basil and oregano, giving it depth and flavor. The cheese, often a mix of ricotta, mozzarella, and parmesan, melts into the pasta, creating gooey layers of creamy goodness. It's the perfect balance of textures, with the soft pasta, the tangy sauce, and the luscious cheese all coming together in every bite. To make baked ziti, you begin by cooking the ziti pasta al dente, then draining it and setting it aside. In a separate pan, you sauté garlic and onions before adding your marinara sauce and seasoning it with salt, pepper, and Italian herbs. If you're using meat, brown it in the pan and mix it into the sauce. Then you combine the cooked pasta with the sauce, ricotta cheese, and half of the shredded mozzarella, and transfer the mixture into a baking dish. Top it with the remaining mozzarella and Parmesan cheese, then bake until golden and bubbly. Baked ziti is often served with a simple salad and garlic bread for the ultimate comfort meal. Its heartiness and ease make it a go-to dish for family gatherings, casual dinners, or when you just want something that'll fill you up and satisfy your cravings. It's the kind of dish that doesn't require a lot of effort, but rewards you with layers of flavor and warmth. Perfect for any occasion, big or small. Swiss steak is a classic American comfort dish that has stood the test of time, offering a hearty and satisfying meal with tender beef, rich gravy, and a simple combination of vegetables. It's the kind of dish that reminds you of home-cooked meals from childhood, deeply flavorful, filling, and made with ingredients that were often on hand in the pantry. This dish, which traces its roots back to the 19th century, is known for its method of tenderizing tougher cuts of beef by braising them slowly in a savory sauce, making it an ideal meal for busy weeknights or Sunday dinners. Despite its name, Swiss steak doesn't have any direct connection to Switzerland. The term Swiss actually refers to the technique used to tenderize the meat, a process where the steak is pounded or Swissed to break down its fibers before cooking. Traditionally, Swiss steak was made with tougher cuts of beef, such as round steak or chuck, which were less expensive but could be transformed into a tender, flavorful dish through slow cooking. Over time, the recipe evolved into the rich, tomato-based version that became a beloved comfort food in many American homes. What makes Swiss steak so special is the combination of tender beef and the savory, tomato-based gravy that's created during the braising process. The beef becomes melt-in-your-mouth tender, absorbing all the flavors of the tomatoes, onions, and bell peppers that simmer with it. The rich, tangy sauce is the perfect complement to mashed potatoes, rice, or buttered noodles, making it a complete and satisfying meal that's perfect for any occasion. To make Swiss steak, you begin by tenderizing a cut of beef, often round steak or chuck, using a meat mallet or knife. Once tenderized, the meat is browned in a hot skillet to develop a rich golden crust. Next, you add onions, garlic, and bell peppers, sautéing them until softened. A can of diced tomatoes is then added along with a bit of beef broth, and the entire dish is simmered low and slow, allowing the meat to become tender and the sauce to thicken. Season with salt, pepper, and herbs like thyme or bay leaves to add depth to the gravy. Serve the Swiss steak hot, topped with the rich, savory gravy, and paired with mashed potatoes, rice, or even crusty bread to soak up the sauce. Swiss steak is a humble yet deeply satisfying dish that continues to be a favorite in kitchens across the country. It's the kind of meal that proves how simple ingredients, cooked with care, can result in something truly special, comforting, flavorful, and perfect for any family gathering. Potato salad is one of those classic dishes that brings people together no matter the occasion. Whether it's a summer barbecue, a picnic in the park, or a family gathering around the holidays, potato salad is a crowd pleaser that has become a staple on American tables. This dish, with its creamy, tangy dressing and tender chunks of potato, has been part of the culinary landscape for generations, offering a perfect balance of flavors and textures that make it both satisfying and refreshing. The history of potato salad dates back to the early days of European cuisine, with various versions popping up in Germany, France, and England, where potatoes were a key ingredient in peasant cooking. The American version of potato salad, however, evolved in the 19th century, with early recipes using simple ingredients like mustard, vinegar, and mayonnaise. Over time, the dish became a staple in American kitchens, particularly during the summer months when potatoes were plentiful and picnics and outdoor meals were in full swing. What makes potato salad such a beloved dish is its versatility. While there's no one way to make it, the base of the dish usually consists of boiled potatoes, which are then mixed with a creamy dressing, typically made from mayonnaise or a combination of mayonnaise and mustard. Some versions add hard-boiled eggs, celery, onions, or pickles for extra crunch and flavor. The dressing, which can be seasoned with salt, pepper, vinegar, and sometimes a touch of sugar, binds everything together in a creamy, tangy coating that's hard to resist. To make potato salad, you start by boiling your potatoes until they're tender but firm enough to hold their shape when chopped. Once the potatoes have cooled, you cut them into bite-sized pieces and transfer them to a large bowl. Then, you mix up the dressing, usually with mayonnaise, mustard, vinegar, and a pinch of salt and pepper. You can also add other ingredients like chopped onions, celery, and dill pickles for added flavor and crunch. Some people like to fold in a little mustard or paprika for extra tang and color. Once everything is combined, refrigerate the salad for a couple of hours to let the flavors meld together. Potato salad is often served chilled, making it a perfect side dish for summer meals, grilled meats, and even holiday spreads. It's a dish that can be made ahead of time and easily adapted to fit any flavor preferences. Whether you prefer it creamy, tangy, or with a bit of crunch, potato salad is one of those recipes that's passed down through generations, offering comfort and joy with every bite. It's the kind of dish that brings back memories of family gatherings and sunny afternoons, always ready to be served as a satisfying side to any meal. Shepherd's pie is the epitome of comfort food, hearty, flavorful, and deeply satisfying. This classic dish, which originated in the United Kingdom, has become a beloved staple in many households across the world, especially in the colder months when something warm and filling is needed. Traditionally made with ground lamb, the dish consists of a savory meat filling topped with creamy mashed potatoes and baked until golden brown. Over the years, it has evolved, with ground beef often being used as a substitute for lamb, but the essence of the dish remains the same. It's a meal that sticks to your ribs and brings a sense of home with every bite. The origins of shepherd's pie trace back to the early 19th century, where it was a popular way to use up leftover roasted meat. The pie part of the name refers to the mashed potato crust that covers the meat filling, which is then baked to form a golden, crispy top. In traditional recipes, lamb was used because shepherds raised sheep, but in modern variations, ground beef, often called cottage pie when made with beef, is more commonly used. Regardless of the meat, the dish is a comforting, simple meal that makes use of humble ingredients to create something incredibly satisfying. What makes shepherd's pie so special is its combination of flavors and textures. The rich, savory filling, made from ground meat, onions, carrots, and peas, is cooked in a flavorful gravy or broth, absorbing all the savory goodness. The mashed potatoes, creamy and smooth, form a perfect contrast to the meat underneath. As it bakes, the top of the potatoes becomes golden and slightly crispy, creating a delightful texture that adds to the overall satisfaction of the dish. To make shepherd's pie, you start by cooking the ground meat, onions, and carrots in a pan until the vegetables are softened and the meat is browned. Add peas, garlic, and herbs like thyme or rosemary. Then pour in some beef broth and a bit of flour to create a thick, savory gravy. The mixture is simmered until the flavors meld together. Meanwhile, boil the potatoes until soft. Mash them with butter, cream, salt, and pepper. Once both components are ready, spread the meat mixture in a baking dish and top with a generous layer of mashed potatoes. Bake until the top is golden brown and serve hot. Shepherd's pie is the kind of dish that's perfect for a family dinner or a cozy meal when the weather turns cold. It's filling, comforting, and has the kind of heartiness that makes it a standout dish. Plus, it's versatile. Add in extra vegetables, swap out the meat, or season it to your taste. Regardless of the changes, shepherd's pie remains a timeless classic that's sure to bring comfort and warmth to the dinner table. Sloppy Joes are the quintessential messy, comforting sandwich that has graced dinner tables across America for decades. With their tangy, savory, and slightly sweet flavor, Sloppy Joes are a perfect example of simple, hearty food that can satisfy even the hungriest of appetites. This dish has its roots in 20th century American cuisine, becoming especially popular in the 1950s and 1960s when convenience foods were rising in prominence. Whether served at a casual weeknight dinner or a family picnic, Sloppy Joes have always been a go-to choice for quick, crowd-pleasing meals. The origins of the Sloppy Joe are a bit unclear, but it's widely believed that the dish was first created in the 1930s or 1940s in the United States. Some sources trace the name to a bar in Key West, Florida, where a bartender named Joe supposedly invented the sandwich by adding tomato sauce and spices to loose meat. Others believe it was developed in a Midwestern diner, where it evolved into a popular sandwich that was both easy to make and highly affordable. No matter where it came from, the Sloppy Joe quickly became a staple in American homes, schools, and cafeterias. What makes Sloppy Joes so beloved is their simplicity and versatility. The filling is made from ground beef, which is browned and simmered in a rich, tangy tomato-based sauce. The sauce typically includes ketchup, mustard, Worcestershire sauce, and a touch of brown sugar or vinegar, creating a delightful combination of sweet, tangy, and savory flavors. The meat is cooked until it's tender and coated in the sauce, and then it's piled high on a soft hamburger bun. The result is a messy, satisfying sandwich that's bursting with flavor in every bite. To make Sloppy Joes, you start by browning the ground beef in a skillet. Once the meat is cooked through, drain any excess fat and then add chopped onions and garlic, sautéing until softened. After that, stir in ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, mustard, brown sugar, and a bit of vinegar, letting the sauce simmer and thicken. Taste and adjust the seasoning with salt and pepper, then let it simmer for a few minutes to allow the flavors to meld together. Spoon the mixture onto soft buns and serve hot. Sloppy Joes are often served with chips, pickles, or a simple side salad, making them an easy and satisfying meal. While they're traditionally made with ground beef, you can easily swap in ground turkey, chicken, or even plant-based options for a different take. Sloppy Joes may be messy, but they're also a reminder of the simple joy of eating with your hands and savoring every bite. Whether you're a kid or an adult, there's something irresistibly comforting about a warm, sloppy sandwich that fills your belly and brings a little nostalgia to your plate. Fried green tomatoes are a Southern classic, cherished for their crispy golden exterior and tangy, slightly tart interior. This dish takes an unripe green tomato and transforms it into a crunchy, savory treat, making it a perfect appetizer, side dish, or snack. Fried green tomatoes have been around for generations, particularly in the South, where tomatoes are a staple crop. Their history is as rich as their flavor, and they hold a special place in Southern cuisine, often served at family gatherings, Sunday dinners, and summer cookouts. The concept of frying green tomatoes has been around since the 19th century, when they were often used to make the most of an abundant tomato harvest. Green tomatoes are simply unripe tomatoes, which have a firmer texture and a more acidic, tangy flavor than their ripe counterparts. This makes them perfect for frying, as they hold up well in hot oil and retain a satisfying crunch. As with many classic Southern dishes, fried green tomatoes were originally born out of necessity, using ingredients that were available and affordable, but over time, they became a beloved dish in their own right. What makes fried green tomatoes so irresistible is the contrast of textures. The coating, often made from cornmeal and flour, becomes crisp and golden when fried, creating a perfect crunch that contrasts beautifully with the firm, slightly tangy tomato inside. The tomatoes themselves are juicy yet firm, and they absorb the seasonings in the breading, adding depth to each bite. A squeeze of lemon or a drizzle of creamy buttermilk dressing or spicy remoulade can elevate the dish even further, making each bite a burst of flavor. To make fried green tomatoes, you begin by slicing the green tomatoes into thick rounds. Then, you prepare a breading station by combining flour, cornmeal, salt, and pepper in one dish, and beaten eggs or buttermilk in another. Dip each slice of tomato into the egg wash. Then coat it thoroughly in the flour mixture, pressing lightly to ensure it sticks. Heat oil in a skillet over medium-high heat, then fry the tomatoes in batches until they're golden brown and crispy on both sides. Once fried, drain the tomatoes on paper towels to remove excess oil, and season with a pinch of salt while they're still hot. Fried green tomatoes are best enjoyed fresh and hot, served with a side of dipping sauce like ranch, spicy mayo, or even a tangy remoulade. Whether served as an appetizer, a side dish, or a main course, they offer a delightful bite of Southern flavor that's both comforting and a little adventurous. They're a great way to enjoy tomatoes in a completely different way, and their crunchy, tangy goodness is guaranteed to bring a bit of joy to your meal. Rice pudding is the kind of dish that evokes warmth, comfort, and nostalgia with every spoonful. A true classic, it has found its way into kitchens across the globe, from cozy family dinners to festive holiday spreads. Whether enjoyed as a simple dessert or a sweet breakfast, rice pudding is a comforting reminder of how humble ingredients like rice, milk, and sugar can be transformed into something deeply satisfying. Its rich, creamy texture and delicate sweetness have made it a beloved dish for generations, especially when served warm with a sprinkle of cinnamon or a handful of raisins. The origins of rice pudding can be traced back to ancient times, with variations found in many cultures. In medieval Europe, it was often made with leftover rice and sweetened with sugar and spices, becoming a popular dessert in royal courts. Over time, it spread across different countries, each adding its own regional twist. In the United States, rice pudding became a household staple, particularly in the early 20th century, when it was both an economical and nourishing meal that could be made from pantry staples. What makes rice pudding so irresistible is its balance of textures and flavors. The soft, tender rice grains absorb the creamy milk, creating a velvety base that's both filling and comforting. The sweetness of the pudding is perfectly balanced with the warmth of cinnamon, nutmeg, or vanilla, and the addition of raisins or other dried fruit adds little bursts of sweetness in every bite. The dish is simple yet elegant, offering a satisfying conclusion to a meal or a delightful treat on its own. To make rice pudding, you begin by cooking rice in a pot with water until it's tender. Then add milk, sugar, and a pinch of salt, and cook the mixture over low heat, stirring often until it thickens into a creamy consistency. You can then stir in vanilla extract or spices like cinnamon and nutmeg, depending on your preference. If you like raisins, fold them in during the last few minutes of cooking. Once the pudding is thickened, remove it from the heat and let it cool slightly. Rice pudding can be served warm or chilled, and it's often topped with a sprinkle of cinnamon or a dollop of whipped cream. Some people enjoy adding a bit of lemon zest for a fresh twist, or even a spoonful of jam for added fruit flavor. Whether you enjoy it as a comforting dessert after a hearty meal or as a sweet breakfast treat, rice pudding remains a timeless dish that continues to bring joy to the table. Simple, affordable, and delicious, it's a dessert that reminds us that sometimes the most satisfying dishes come from the simplest ingredients. As we come to the end of this delicious journey through some of the most beloved, forgotten recipes you could only find in old cookbooks, it's hard not to feel a sense of nostalgia for a time when meals were about more than just eating. They were about connecting, creating, and sharing. These dishes, many of which were staples in households for generations, have a special way of making us feel rooted in the past, like a warm embrace from another era. Whether it's the comforting richness of chicken a la king, the hearty satisfaction of beef stroganoff, or the simple joy of a slice of choufle pie, each recipe tells a story, reflecting the ingenuity, resourcefulness, and love that went into cooking meals for loved ones. What strikes me most about these dishes is how they reflect the way we used to cook, often with what we had on hand, improvising, and making the most out of simple ingredients. These recipes were created by people who didn't have the luxury of instant gratification or store-bought convenience. Instead, they were experts at making something delicious with what was available, often stretching ingredients and time to feed a family, create a moment, or celebrate a special occasion. Though these dishes may not be as popular today, they still have the power to bring people together around the table. Maybe you've made one of these dishes before, or maybe you're discovering them for the first time. But there's something undeniably special about cooking and sharing these timeless recipes. They remind us of how food connects us to our past, to our heritage, and to one another. So, as you close the pages of these forgotten recipes and consider bringing a bit of the past into your present, remember that cooking isn't just about the food itself. It's about the memories you create, the stories you tell, and the love you share with the people around you. So dust off those old cookbooks, get into the kitchen, and make something that not only tastes good, but feels like home. Because in the end, it's the meals we make and the memories we create around them that will continue to be passed down, just like these timeless recipes. Until next time, keep cooking, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep savoring every bite of the beautiful, nostalgic dishes that continue to fill our homes with flavor, warmth, and love.